already done the initial. Do you want me to start with the?
I'd like for you to start as if you've never done anything.
It's got to be
Ready?
ready.
Okay, you filming?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hi, I'm Steve Brown with Engineered Corrosion Solutions, ECS, and I'm here to demonstrate the MEB4 Nitrogen generator. What this is designed to do is it's designed to replace the compressor that would normally maintain the supervisory pressure of the sprinkler system. We're displacing the compressed air with nitrogen to prevent any corrosion that's happening from the oxygen corrosion inside the system. So we call it a nitrogen generator.
Want to hit the pause button?
Yeah. Okay. So, as I said, we call it a nitrogen generator, but basically all we're doing is we're taking the compressed air from the compressor, running it through this series of filters. These filters will take out any moisture, particulates before it gets to the membrane. And then, so the air will come through the filters and it'll come through here fairly clean. What we're doing here is we got a high pressure here, we got back pressure here, and we're squeezing the oxygen molecules through this filter and out this port here. So basically the end result is 98% nitrogen or better coming out of the top of the membrane and going out and feeding your supervisory pressure for your dry and pre-action valves over there. So for maintenance purposes, while we're here at the cabinet, I'll show you how to do that. To change the filters need to be changed once a year. We will send an automated email from today's date telling you it's time to change the filters. These indicators are green right now. If those aren't green before the year is up, then call us and they need to be replaced. But so to replace them, turn the power off there, open this valve. That's bleeding the air out of the system. We're gonna pull this tab down, quarter turn, pull it out. And then this filter has this cap. The other two don't, they just unscrew. This one has a cap and the filter comes out. And then you just replace it. And this is finer and finest, and I don't remember the microns of each filter, but you do want to replace them in order. They're easily identifiable, which one goes where, but if you take them all three out at once, you won't know which ones go where. So, replace them one at a time. And they have step-by-step procedures in the manual, which is in the door, I'll show. And that's it. Quarterly maintenance, they want you to check the hours and cycle counter on the inside, or on the outside of the cabinet. So I just take a picture or make note of those. There is a maintenance schedule in the last 2 pages of this manual is a maintenance schedule. And it basically tells you step by step what's quarterly and what's annual. Really the only annual maintenance is the filter changes in here. Check the runtime meters. You want to make sure that the valves are operating properly. You want to check the pressures here. And so to do that, we want this ball valve open. This opens the flow meter. What that's going to do, I'm going to turn I'll wait to turn the compressor on. It's going to bleed air out of the back of this column here, this flow meter, and this ball is going to go up, and it's going to tell us how much output we're getting from the membrane. And the output and the nitrogen purity go hand in hand. The higher the purity, the lower the output. The higher the output, the lower the purity. What we want on this model, we want to maintain about a no less than 20 standard cubic feet per hour. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the compressor on, and that ball, we're going to measure to the center of the ball on there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. The compressor is going to kick on. It's got an 8-second delay. I've got this valve open. So right now we've got a ton of, here we go. On this one, they changed. Oh, that's why. We're not in nitrogen mode. You gotta be in nitrogen mode, so this valve has to be closed. So this one, they've made a slight change. On this particular model, you're gonna wanna crack this valve closed, partially closed, until this reads between 15 and 20 PSI. Okay, so you see how, there we go, now we're getting some flow. Trying to get this to go back up. So they've recently changed this to where you just open it all the way. They put a restricted orifice in there so you can open it all the way and check the flow. But this model shipped a little sooner. So right there. So right now we're sitting at about 23, 24 standard cubic feet per hour. So normally what we would do at the initial startup is we'd close the cabinet door, let it run for 5 to 10 minutes to warm up this membrane. Then we do a purity check. The warmer this membrane gets and the more it's used, the more efficient it is and the higher the purity goes up. So even if we're at, when we do a check right now, if we're at 97.2, 97.5 or something, we know that the more this runs, it's going to be at 98 plus, and that's the sweet spot. So I'm not going to, for the sake of time, I'm not going to close the door and let it run for too long, but so this is the nitrogen gas analyzer. So there could be trapped gas in there from the last check. So I always unscrew this. It should calibrate automatically down. Atmospheric is 79.1% nitrogen. If it's not reading that after a minute or so, push and hold this triangle button until it says CAL for calibrate. Let it go. I even do this just to force some fresh air through it, and it'll calibrate to 79.1. Okay, we screw it back in. Got this quick disconnect right here. Put that in there, and you can see the nitrogen purity is going up already. It's cranking pretty good. And we've got really good output here. Yes, to do this, you want to have this flowing. So see, it's bottoming out at about 97. If we let it run for a while, it's going to go up. We do have a little bit of room. I don't want to mess with the the output right now. I like the output where it's at. We'll let it run for a while, and I'll double check it. And as long as we're at 97.5 or higher today, we'll be good. We know it'll be at over 98% as it's running and filling these systems. So, but that's how you do that process. So then you just do this. You close this ball valve. So we're at 25. I need to make notes of that. Also, in the annual maintenance, it says to check the pressure gauges. You want this to do the same procedure. You want to crack this valve just so it's hanging between 15 and 20 psi. So this is barely open, this ball valve here. We want about 100 on this lower. That's 100 psi going into the membrane. We want this valve at 80, so I'm going to just adjust that and close it. That's it. That's all. So like I say, once I have the nitrogen dialed in to 98%, we'll check it again later as we're filling. You can adjust it here. You can increase the purity, but that output is going to go down. So we do have a little bit of room. We don't want to go below 20. If we need to make an adjustment, I would do it here, but that needle would go down, purity would go up. All I ask is that you guys don't touch this knob unless you call us. Okay? I had somebody close this all the way and it wasn't getting any air. The compressor was running for hours and hours and hours and not filling up. Couldn't figure out. I got to the job site, 15-second fix, just turned it until the output went up. As soon as I got there, I noticed there was no output. Just opened the valve and it was fine. So somebody had gone in and closed that after I had gone in and set it. So that's it for there. So I'm gonna leave it run while we're going here. Any questions on the cabinet? Okay. You guys good on the filter change? Okay. So we got this nitrogen going down here, feeding your dry pipe valve. Your air pressure is into the system is controlled by this air maintenance device that I believe Brian went through in the previous video. That's what controls the system pressure. We're going to set these for 22 psi, which takes me back to the cabinet. We'll go back to that in a minute. So these valves are going to be set at 22 psi, which they are right now. Good job. And so then what we've got is we've got this vent here. These ball valves will always be open. And what they're doing is when we open this, turn the power on these boxes, you hear that? That click, that was the solenoid opening up the vent on the end of these valves. So now what it's doing is it's venting air out of this orifice, really slow. It's a very small orifice, so it's a real slow leak. Over a 2-week period, we're going to bleed the air down, and we're going to set the compressor to kick on at 19 psi. Because we're at 22 here, we want a minimum of 3-pound pressure swing. So these are going to bleed down. When this gets down to 19 psi, the compressor is going to kick on and fill it back up with nitrogen. So right now, it's bleeding oxygen from the system. It's going to fill it with nitrogen. And it'll do that anywhere from 4 to 6 times a day for 14 days. And then these boxes will automatically close these valves after 14 days. And we'll be at 98%. But every time it does that, each fill or purge and then fill, the nitrogen purity gets higher, the oxygen level gets lower, and then we've got 98% nitrogen in the system, and it prevents the corrosion. So these valves should always stay open. Power should stay on these, because as soon as you lose power, those vents close.
So is that just a control panel, basically, those things? Or
Yep.
Control panels for the vents?
Yep, that's all it does, is it just sets the timer for that solenoid up there. You can, after 14 days, that same gas analyzer, put it in this quick disconnect, check your purity. You should be at 98%. If you're not, then call us.
So that box does not read the purity.
No.
And shut it when it's pure
Correct.
enough.
We have electronic purity device controls, but they don't have them here. So then this vent, quarterly maintenance in the book is just a visual. If this filter looks dirty or anything, you can close this valve. You can bleed the air out of the bottom of that, and then unscrew the bowl. You can take it and wash it out. You can do that as many times until it starts. If you feel it needs to be replaced, then we can replace it. But that typically doesn't need to be replaced annually. This regulator here, see how it goes up? What we're going to do is we're going to set this. What this is a back pressure regulator. So when this vent is open and we lose power to the compressor for whatever reason, if we didn't have this on here, that system would keep bleeding and bleeding and bleeding till it tripped, if power was out long enough. We set these to just above the low air alarm, so it'll bleed down. If you lose power, it'll bleed down to what we set it at. In this case, we'll set it for 15, and it'll stop bleeding out. So it'll prevent an accidental trip. But that's with the manual valve. Since you have the control box here, if you lose power while those are venting, they're going to close automatically anyway. So it's really kind of moot on these. Any questions on this?
So you don't have to set your regulator if you got the power cylinder?
You know, well, yeah, but you still have to, because it still has to bleed down enough to allow the vent to the system to purge. So like right here, let's see, we'll close it. It's venting. Let's see where it drops. Now these are a number 5 orifice, so they're really small. We'll see where it drops, and it should stop. Looks like it stopped, but I can't tell from here. Well, it's still going. It's such a slow bleed out of there, and I might need to adjust it.
So you want that a 3-count difference?
We're going to set it. We want it between your low air alarm and the kick-in pressure of the cabinet over there.
Okay, so you're at kick-in at 19.
Yep.
So
Your low air is what? 13. So I'll set this to close at 15.
Okay. So you want just a little bit of wiggle
Yeah, just a little bit of wiggle room.
Okay.
So yeah, these just need to be adjusted. I haven't done that yet,
Yeah.
so I'll adjust those before we go.
You need a left.
So you got 22 at your air maintenance device. So your system pressure is 22. The kick-in pressure on the cabinet, it's SP. No, SP is stop pressure, I apologize. RP is run pressure. We can go back over there real quick. You can get a close-up of that. So this is still running because I've got that valve crack, right? So up here, I'm going to adjust this now. The RP is the run pressure. Okay, and I'm going to adjust that to 19 psi.